Okay, so here we are. All right, so here we are. And we are in the middle of a discussion about the four Parshiyos. The four Parshiyos are four sections of the Chumash that we read during the weeks that precede Pesach. So we start off with Parsha Shkolim, we continue to Parsha Zachar, and then to Para, and then to Chodesh. These four Parshas are read starting from Shkolim is read starting from Shabbos Mevarchim Adar, the week before Adar. The next one, Zachar, is read the week before Purim. The third one is read in between Purim and Shabbos Mevarchim Nisan. And then the last one, Chodesh, is read on Shabbos Mevarchim Nisan, which is this week. And these four pashas are specifically read during these times in a preparation for Nisan and for Pesach. So these four pashas, like we started to discuss last time, can be viewed as four levels of preparation in our journey towards Geula. Because as we all know, that Adar is to Nisan as Elul is to Tishrei. And the simcha of, just like the seriousness of Elul, the preparation of Elul or defines the quality of Tishrei. And then the same thing is also with Adar, that the simcha that we have in Adar gives us the quality of the Geula that we experience in Nisan. Like we all know that simcha peretz geder, that the joy breaks all barriers. So the Geula that comes in Nisan is prepared for in Adar. So throughout the month of Adar, starting from Adar, starting from Shabbos Mevarchim Adar until Shabbos Mevarchim Nisan, we read these four parshas. Okay, so like we said before, or like we started off last time, so we talked about last time the first two parshas, the parsha of Shkolim and the parsha of Zachar. And we said that Shkolim, the concept of Shkolim, the idea of Shkolim, the idea of the parsha of Shkolim talks about the machzah shekel, the half shekel. And the concept of the half shekel is twofold, that there's two sides to this, that on the one hand, each person is only supposed to bring a half a shekel. Each person is only supposed to bring a half of a whole. And on the other hand, the person is supposed to bring a complete coin, or the way it was in the amount that it was said in the Chumash. The amount that we're supposed to bring is eser geira, 10 smaller coins, which makes up a half a shekel. So this gives us two halves of this concept. One half of this concept is the humility, and the other half of the concept is understanding the importance of our job. In other words, we should not think that humility means that we are nothing, that humility means that we are not worthy, humility means that we are a small speck in the solar system, and we're insignificant. But bittul, humility means that my things, the things that I want out of life, or the things that I want to do right now, is possibly, or most probably, less important than the job that God has given me to accomplish in my life. And so therefore the humility is to say that that God thinks that if I'm here in this world, that God thinks that I'm very important, and that He needs me for a certain job, and I'm going to be humble, and I'm going to have the humility to understand that I have a responsibility, and that responsibility is more important than the small things that I'm looking for, or that I desire on a day-to-day basis. So this is the first step towards Geula. This is the first step towards any type of avodah. The first step is bittul. The first step is humility, understanding who we are, what our place is, why God needs us here, and what our responsibility is towards ourselves and towards the Jewish people and towards the reason why we're here. That's step number one. The second thing that we said is important to learn from Machas HaShekel is that Machas HaShekel, Machatzis has five letters. The two letters, the center letter, the middle letter is Tzaddik, which refers to the Tzaddik Hadar, the Tzaddik of the generation. And the two letters that are closer to Tzaddik is Chai, and the two letters that are farther from Tzaddik is Meis. So if we're close to the Tzaddik, so then we have life, we have Chai. And if we're farther from the Tzaddik, so we have Meis, so then we have the opposite of life. So the first thing is that a person has to have the humility and to accept upon themselves the Tzaddik of the generation, or in this case also to connect through the Tzaddik through a mashpia, through like what the Rebbe said many times, is an asay l'charav, that every person should have the humility to have a person that they speak to, that they get guidance from. And this connects the person to the tzaddik. So that's one thing. That's the first step. The first step is the humility. The first step is understanding who I am, understanding my place, understanding what I'm here for, and what my greater purpose is. That's the beginning of the whole thing. The second step is Zachar. What is Zachar about? Zachar is when we read about the story of Amalek. What is Amalek about? So Chassidus, it explains that Amalek is about coldness. We talked about a very hot bath that a person is afraid to go into, and no one wants to try it. The water is too hot. You see the steam coming off of the water, and as soon as one person sort of puts their foot in a little bit, even just their heel in, even if they get burnt, the whole thing becomes cooled down for everyone else. The same thing happened with Amalek. People were very scared of the Jewish people when they heard about all of the things that happened to the Jewish people, all the miracles that happened to the Jewish people in Mitzrayim, the way a superpower of the world in a very, very short period of time, in not much longer than a year, was completely destroyed. We're talking about an empire, not just one country. We're talking about an empire. This was the central country, the most powerful country in the world, with all of the riches of the world. So we remember with Yosef that people came to buy food, and they brought all of their wealth to Mitzrayim. There was no country that was wealthier than Mitzrayim ever, and it dominated the entire world. All the land of the world, all the cattle of the world, it all belonged to Mitzrayim. And then within 1 year, the Makis that came on Mitzrayim through Moshe and the subsequent exodus of the Jewish people caused an empire of such hugeness, of such magnitude, to literally collapse over 1 year. And people were scared. It says, we say it in davening, we say it every day, Nemoigu kol yeshvei Canaan. It says that the hearts of the people of Canaan melted. So much so that we see later on in Yeshua, when the Jewish people came to Mitzrayim, to Eretz Yisrael, there were places that they came when they came to conquer, they marched into cities and areas, and the homes were abandoned. There were whole tribes of people that just left because they were scared of the Jewish people. And that was 40 years later. You can imagine how scared people were, or how amazed people were of what went on with the Jewish people right after the Jewish people left Mitzrayim. And not only that, but then after went through the Yam Suf and all of the miracles that happened there and what people heard about those miracles. So, but right after Yetzias Mitzrayim, Amalek comes along, and goes out to war against the Jewish people. So even though that the Jewish people, even though that Amalek lost, they lost horribly. They were conquered completely, but it cooled off the Jewish people. It wasn't so terrible. It's like the person that puts their foot in a very, very hot bath. So yes, okay, they got burnt, but it wasn't the end of the world. It's in proportion. It's not the fear of the unknown, of what could happen, but rather it's in proportion. And so therefore the excitement, this represents the excitement and the warmth that's involved in the avodah, in the things that we do towards our Judaism, towards Hashem, to serve Hashem. The Amalek that's within us is the Yetzer Hara that says, you're not so holy, don't get so excited, you remember what you did yesterday, you remember what you did the day before, you're not so, just relax, you don't have to get so excited about everything, tomorrow anyway you'll be doing something else that won't make sense that you're doing it today. And so therefore Amalek comes along and pours cold water on the whole thing. You'll do it tomorrow, you'll do it later, So this is the second level. The second level is that we have to be Timcha Zecher Amalek. We have to get rid of Amalek. We have to get rid of the coldness towards Judaism. We have to get rid of the coldness towards our own lives. It's not only about Judaism. It's also ourselves. When we realize in the first step that bittul, that the humility that we have is that the humility that we have towards the job that we have in life is important. We understand that this should cause an excitement. This should cause us to realize that Hashem wants us here for a reason, and that reason is important. We should get excited about that mission. We should be excited about the fact that Hashem, from the beginning of the creation of the world, has never had someone in this world like us, or exactly like us, because he has a special job. 6,000 years Hashem is waiting for us to come into the world in order for us to have, in order for us to accomplish something important. That should be an excitement. If we don't have excitement towards that, if we don't feel excited about that, that means that we have an Amalek that's going on inside us. So the first step is that we have to be humble. We have to understand we have a mission in life. The second thing is that we have to be excited about the things that we do. And if not, we have to get rid of the Amalek that's within us. Okay. Okay. Anyone with us? Anyone out there? If there's anyone watching, please send a comment or something, so I know that we're broadcasting and this is coming through well. Hi, Yafa. Welcome to the class. All right, thanks for the thumbs up. This is coming through good. Okay, so to continue. Okay, so now we have, after the first level, which is humility, which is the idea of machzah shekel, and after we get rid of the coldness that we have towards our job and our life and moving ourselves forward in the service of Hashem. So then comes along the third parsha, which is Parshas Para. What is Parshas Para? Parshas Para it talks about tumas mes, which is the spiritual impurity that someone comes in contact with when they come in contact with a dead person, a corpse. So the Torah tells us that para is a special mitzvah. It's called a mitzvah of, it's called the chayk, the mitzvah that has no reason or that has no explanation or understanding of how it connects. However, the Rebbe in his Siches explains that the idea of para is like this: you take the para, you take the cow, the red heifer, and the red heifer, the ashes from the heifer that's burnt is taken and it's mixed together with water that comes from a live source, and it's mixed together, and then that water and ash mixture is sprayed onto the person, and then when it's sprayed onto the person becomes free of this ritual impurity of the death of coming in contact with a dead body. So, and this is what's called a chayk. It's given in the Torah, and it's not given any reason except for the fact that if you do this, then you become pure. Okay, so what does this mean? What is this here to tell us? So the Rebbe explains that ash is completely unusable. It has no. It's something that once you take something and you completely reduce it to nothing, you burn it, you destroy it, it becomes nothing. It's completely dead. After that, there's no purpose. There's nothing else you can do with it. There's no way to purpose it or repurpose it. It's for the most part completely useless. Water, on the other hand, has infinite possibilities. First of all, it's water, and water can be used for drinking, it can be used for growing things, it can be used for cooking, it can be used for all types of mixtures. But not only that, the pasuk says that it has to be living water, that it has to come from a living source. Meaning that the water is moving and running and rushing. It's not a puddle, or it's not even a lake, but it's actually water that's coming from a spring that's flowing and moving constantly. And you take the water from that source. So here, what this symbolizes is that we're taking two things that are completely separate or completely opposite, the diametric opposites. On the one hand, there you have the afer, you have the dust, the ash, which is like completely useless, completely devoid of life and purpose. And then the other thing is the water, which has infinite purposes and infinite possibilities and capabilities. And you take those two elements and you put them together, and so you're taking the beginning of life, the ultimate life thing or source of life, and then you're taking something that is the opposite of life and you're putting them together. What does that mean? It means, the Rebbe explains, that when a person comes in contact with the concept of death, which doesn't necessarily only mean an actual dead person, but it also means when a person is experiencing a loss, when a person is experiencing death in their life, where they've come in contact psychologically, they've come in contact in their lives, they're experiencing a loss, they're experiencing hardships and pain and suffering and so on, and coming in contact with this type of loss in their life, where they feel that life has lost meaning, that there's an experience of death where there's no purpose anymore, just like the ashes, that the ashes don't have any purpose, they don't have any, there's nothing you can do with them. Comes along the Parah Aduma to say that we have to take the impetus, or we have to take this frustration or this feeling of an opposite of life and turn it into something optimistic and the beginning of something new, the beginning of a new life. That's the concept, or that's the symbolism in the water that we mix together with the afer, with the ashes. So this is the third step towards the Geula. First, we have to be humble. We have to understand what we're here for and why. The second thing is that we have to, that's the Machzah Shekel. The second thing is we have to get rid of all coldness or all apathy towards Judaism and our service of Hashem. And the third thing is that if for whatever reason we have come in contact with things that are depressing, things that pull us down, things that make us feel hopeless and helpless and despondent. So comes along the Paradum and tells us that you have that there's a way out. There's a way to even not only way out, but there's a way to utilize the bad experiences that we have in order to catapult us to the next thing. That bad things that come to us in life are not bad things that come to us in life are not meant to pull us down, but for us to get up on top of them and to use them as a platform to reach higher and higher. There are challenges that Hashem sends to us in order for us to overcome and to become a bit better and a stronger person for the experience. Okay, so that is number 3. Number 4, which is where we're holding now this week, is the Parsha of HaChodesh. What is the Parsha of HaChodesh? Parsha of HaChodesh talks about when Hashem comes to Moshe Rabbeinu and he tells him that there's a mitzvah called Kiddush HaChodesh. There's a mitzvah where we're supposed to where a Jewish person is supposed to see the moon as it's being born, or at the moment or at the time when the moon is reborn, right? Because throughout the 30 days of the year, the moon waxes and wanes; it becomes smaller and bigger. And the moment that the moon becomes towards the end of the month, it gets smaller and smaller and smaller, and then at the end of the month, it's reborn. It starts to get bigger again. At that moment, or on that day when it starts to be reborn, the new sliver appears in the sky. So that's considered Rosh Chodesh. And Hashem tells to Moshe Rabbeinu that in this parsha of HaChodesh, that this month of Nisan should be Chodesh Hazeh Rosh Chodashim, that this should be the first month of the year. So like when we write the months in numbers, when you write a check or something and you write the date, so we count in the secular calendar, January is 1 and February is 2 and so on. So Nisan in the Jewish calendar is number 1, even though sometimes even though we have Tishrei is Rosh Hashanah, and some people look at it as the beginning of the year. But in terms of counting, in terms of which month is the beginning of the month for counting, Nisan is the first month. And that's what we see all throughout the Chumash after that, when it talks about the months. It talks about the first month, the second month, the third month, and so on. So that is talking about the first month is Nisan, the second month is Iyar, and so on and so forth. And Tishrei is actually the 7th month. Okay, so what's the concept of, or what's this idea? And what are we supposed to understand from this? So there's 2 things. Number 1, Rosh Chodesh. It doesn't say Hascholas HaChodesh. It doesn't say the beginning of the month. It says Rosh, the head. That's number 1. Number 2, Chodesh comes from the term Chidush. Chidush means renewal, or something new, something novel, something new that hasn't yet been done yet. So if you translate it literally, it means the head of renewal. So the head, of course, in a person's body is significant, because without the head, the body doesn't know where to go, doesn't know what to do. And so therefore the head needs to be pointed in the right direction, and the way that the head points, the way that the head is moving or looking or drawn, that's where the rest of the body goes. So what we do let's say on Rosh Hashanah, dictates for us how the rest of the year is going to go. And the same thing is also in Nisan, maybe even more so than in Tishrei, that what we do in terms of the Rosh Chodesh, how we enter into the month, this is what dictates for us how the Yom Tov of the month of Nisan is going to go, and how the and how the holiday of Pesach is going to go, and the Geula that we're going to experience once we get there. So that's the Reish. And then Chodesh or Chidush is the concept of renewal. Now, this concept is even more, in other words, every month has an opportunity for renewal, has an opportunity to start fresh. This concept is even that much more stressed in the month of Nisan, because Nisan, it says, begins the season of the spring. Torah tells us that we are supposed to make sure that Nisan and Pesach is always in the spring. That's actually one of the names of Pesach itself, Chodesh Chaga Aviv. It's the holiday of the spring, and we have to watch that. We have to make sure that happens, because as we know, the lunar months are only 29 and a half days roughly, as opposed to the solar year, which is longer, which is 30 or 31 days per month, or 365 days for the year, which is longer than the lunar year. And so what happens is that if it's left without adjustment, which what we call or what we instituted as what's called a leap year, where we add another Adar, the month of Nisan will continue to get earlier and earlier and earlier until Nisan will just sort of rotate throughout the year. First it'll be in March, and then the next year it'll be in February, and then in January. Well, not every year, but it'll move about 2 weeks or a week and a half, 2 weeks every single year. And then because that's what the days that are short in between the solar and the lunar year. And then Pesach will just rotate throughout the year. The Chinese, for instance, who also keep a lunar calendar, don't feel the need to line up or sync the two calendars, and therefore they have holidays, the Chinese New Year and so on, that every once in a while they announce on the radio or something. Every time you hear about it, it's in a different month. It's like always rotating throughout the year, and for them that's fine, and the truth is, for us it would be fine also. It wouldn't make a difference for us that Sukkot should always be in the fall, and Pesach should be in the spring. It wouldn't be something that would be important to us either, if not that the Torah tells us that Nisan is supposed to be in the spring, and so therefore that's why we add an Adar specifically, and not an Av or a Kislev or whatever, because we're always trying to make sure that Nisan, the month that follows, is always in the spring. Why is this important? This is important because the spring is the time of renewal. It's the time where things start to grow again, things are renewed, and the seasons change. While you have a sort of somewhat of a difference in between the fall and the winter, but the most significant difference comes when the winter breaks and it stops being cold, and the weather starts to get warmer towards the summer months. And as we know, there's a greater level of spiritual experience or spiritual revelation during the summer months than there is during the winter months. And so therefore this is also felt. You see this with people. Chinese New Year is always in January, February. That's interesting. I thought it rotates. It has to, because it's every 2 weeks it changes. That's weird. Because they don't have what do you call it? Because they don't have a leap year. Wow, I'm getting links. Oh, for some reason I can't click on this. How do they keep it only in January and February? If they If they don't have a leap year, then it'll continue to rotate. Unless they have I can't click the link, but so maybe you have to tell me. If they don't have a leap year, or they don't set it in a date that's connected to the solar calendar, if it's only based on a lunar calendar, then it'll constantly rotate. Just like our holidays, as we get farther and farther away from the leap year, the Yom Tovim slide to the earlier part of the season, and then after the year after a leap year, it goes later. So if they're keeping it in a certain date, either in January and February, so then they attach it to a solar date, a date in the solar calendar. I thought they only go with the lunar, and it's based on that, and it just rotates. Anyway, okay. So if I made a mistake, I'm sorry. If the New Year is in one way or another attached to a solar calendar and it doesn't always rotate, then fine. But if we would leave it, if we wouldn't have leap years, so then our Yom Tovim would continuously rotate throughout the year. Anything that's only based on a solar calendar is gonna continuously go back, because we have a week and a half to 2 weeks less of days in the solar calendar than we do in the lunar calendar. It's just a mathematical reality. But okay, thank you, Yaffer, for that clarification. I'll have to check up this link afterwards and see how that works. At any rate, after getting back to what we're saying here, so you have, so we're talking about the Chodesh. The Chodesh, as we start the spring season, is the holiday of renewal, or it's the season of renewal, and therefore the holiday of renewal. Where were we? Sorry, I lost my place here. Right. So just like as people are excited to move forward and to do new things and to get out and travel or be more active during the spring months, which is a very low level of experience or reaction to the fact that there's great spiritual opportunity or a renewal during this month, but it shows that people are looking to do more things because of the weather. And while the weather is a very superficial thing, but it reflects the schachos, the newness of the new season that's coming in, that's being ushered in. And so therefore, the Torah is telling us, or the message that we're getting here from this concept of Nisan is that yes, it's true that we had Tishrei, and Tishrei is the beginning of the year, and it's Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, and we asked for forgiveness, and we made a bunch of New Year's resolutions, and during those resolutions, that not necessarily all of us kept all of them. That's what New Year's resolutions are for, not to keep. At least that's the way the joke goes. So we come 6 months later. We come, and it's already now the spring. The fall and the winter have passed us by, and maybe we didn't fulfill everything that we wanted to do or accomplish in the winter months, and we think to ourselves, now is Pesach, and then shortly thereafter is Shavuos, and the Shavuos already is the end of the school year, the academic year, and then we're sliding right into the summer, and then before you know it, just like last year, we're going to blink another one or two times, and then suddenly we're going to find ourselves right back in Elul, promising ourselves and promising God that we'll be better and we'll do better, and take upon ourselves all these all these New Year's resolutions once again, and at a certain point we stop even to believe ourselves that it's possible. So when Nisan comes, it could be a time of great disappointment, that there's no way that I'm going to be able to catch up for all of the time that I missed throughout the entire winter. It's one thing if we slack off on things that we said that we were going to do by 1 week, 2 weeks, even a month. But an entire winter goes by from August, September, all the way until March, April. There's no way that we're catching up for all of that. Comes along Nisan and says it's okay. Comes along Shabbos HaChodesh, comes along this concept of renewal, and comes along the season of Geula, the season of redemption, and Hashem tells us that it's okay. It's not the end of the world. It's not the end of the year. You've only just begun. Nisan is the first month. Nisan is the beginning. It's Chaydesh. It's new. It's fresh. There's an opportunity over here that you can salvage or not only salvage, but you can start now fresh as if now is the beginning of the year. And like the famous Gemara where it discusses the machlekes about when the world was created. One opinion is that the world was created in the 6 days at the end of Elul, and then Rosh Hashanah is the first day of creation. The first day of the day that Adam was created, or the last day of creation, the 6th day of creation rather. And according to the other opinion, it was Nisan, that the last 6 days, the last 5 days in Adar were the days of creation, and then the first day of Nisan, it was the 6th day of creation, the day that Adam and Chava were created. That was the Rosh Chodesh Nisan, was Friday that first year. So and this is the argument that's in the Gemara. In the end, the way Chassidus understands it is that both are true. One is when the world was physically created, which was Rosh Hashanah, El and Rosh Hashanah. That's when the actual physical world was created. That's when the things that we see that happened in the Chumash, where it says that Hashem created light, and Hashem created the heavens and the earth, and the animals, and the fish, and the sea, and so on and so forth. All of that physically happened in the 6 days of creation in Elul and in Tishrei. And then in Nisan, the same thing happened, but it didn't happen in a physical sense. It happened in a spiritual sense, sort of on an intellectual level. Hashem thought about this, planned it out, created blueprints, what have you. So on a spiritual level, Nisan, this time that we're living in now, in the 5 days before, of the last 5 days of Adar, and the first day, Rosh Chodesh of Nisan, is a time when we are experiencing the creation of the world in concept. Now, the difference between things in concept and things in reality is that things in reality go step by step. There's a lot of details. A person has a concept that's that's a great idea, but when things hit the ground and actually move forward in real life, they don't happen quite as quickly as when things happen in theory, in a person's mind. And so therefore, the ability to move forward, the ability to jump ahead, the ability to renew ourselves and to do new things with the energy that we get, or that's available in the month of Nisan, allows us to jump. It allows us to jump ahead, even though that maybe in the months of Elul all the way through Adar, we didn't do exactly what we were supposed to do every day as we planned. But Nisan is being that there's an energy of renewal that comes both in the holiday as Geula and also in the season. So then it's an opportunity to jump ahead and to catch up, so to speak, conceptually, for all the things that we missed out during the previous months, and to start anew. And this is the idea of the schachus of the Levana. This is the renewal of the moon. That while the sun goes around the world and is only renewed once, or the cycle doesn't end until 365 days and a quarter, and the cycle of the sun is once every 19 years, the moon, on the other hand, every single month renews. The moon there's a constant renewal. So we should never feel that it's too late and we missed the opportunity and we can't do anything about it anymore, and it's too much stuff to catch up on and so on. No, the moon renews every single year, and this is why it says that the Jewish people are similar to the moon, because we have a constant possibility of renewal, and especially the month of Nisan, which is the first month and the beginning of the season of renewal amongst the Jewish people, and the Chodesh of Geula, the month of redemption, and the holiday of redemption, which is Pesach, and all of these great things that come together all at one time. Okay. Any questions so far? Okay, so in summation, like all good things in Judaism, the beginning is connected to the end, and the end is connected to the beginning. So shkalim is the concept of humility. And Levana, the last one, Chaydesh, is the idea of the moon. And it says that the moon has nothing for itself. Les megama klum. Because if you look at the moon used to, in the beginning of time, the moon was a luminary. The moon had tremendous light. And then over time, not over time, excuse me, then the moon came, the moon came and complained to Hashem and said that that it's not fair that it's that the sun and the moon have the same light. And obviously the moon was meaning that the sun should be diminished and that the moon should have more light. And so in the end, what happened is that the exact opposite happened. That not only doesn't the moon have light of itself, but the moon is the only light that we have from the moon is the reflection of the rays of the sun as it bounces off the moon, and we see it. And that's why the moon waxes and wanes, because the sun reflects on it in different times of the month in different ways. So this teaches us something. It teaches us something about humility, and this is how the beginning and the end are connected. That's the way one way it's connected. The other way it's connected is that shkalim, the shekel, it says when Hashem came to Moshe Rabbeinu and told him that we have this thing called a shekel, we have this machsa shekel, this half shekel that I want you to bring, or that I want that the Jewish people should bring to donate for the Mishkan, and also to make a census, to tell us how many people there are. So Moshe Rabbeinu said he didn't understand. Which is kind of a funny thing, because out of all the things that he didn't understand, it's funny that he didn't understand what it means to bring a shekel, just bring a coin and donate it. So in the reality is that he didn't understand this concept of how something so insignificant does something so amazing or so important. And Hashem explained to him through showing him a matbea shel eish. He showed him a coin made out of fire in the sky. And he showed how this concept of bittul and the concept of humility, the concept of reducing ourselves to nothingness, really has an awesome power, an awesome ability to salvage or to renew everything. These four parshas are also connected the four yesodis, the four elements of the world. Shkalim, like we said, is like fire. Like Hashem showed Moshe Rabbeinu a matbea shalesh. He showed him a coin of fire in the sky. Zachar is connected with the concept of water, right? The four elements of fire, water, earth, and wind. So shkalim is the concept of fire, because it's like Moshe Rabbeinu Hashem showed Moshe Rabbeinu a coin of fire. Zachar is connected with the concept of water, because Zachar is the idea of Amalek, cold water, where Amalek is always throwing cold water on all of our excitement and good ideas. And in the opposite, water can also be used as a good thing, like we explained in the Parsha of Para, that living waters can renew and can uplift even the most bleak of situations. In other words, the excitement, the enthusiasm of the soul, and the movement of the soul, the ability for a human being to move, to pick themselves up, and to go to the next thing, to overcome and become stronger for the experience, also comes through water. That water is always moving. Water never stops. Water is always seeping, flowing, moving somewhere. It's never content like a rock just to sit. Water is always moving. So too life is always moving and can always be moving. So that's Zachar. That's why Zachar is connected with water, both for the good and the bad. And then you have Para. Para, obviously, is connected with earth, because the earth, or the ash of the Para, it represents that element. And then Levana, Chaydesh, the moon, is connected with the concept of wind or air. So this is how it goes. This is the track. That if we find ourselves stuck, if we think we're stuck. If we find ourselves after half a year of doing whatever we're trying to do, and our life, our situation, the things that we've tried to do all throughout the winter months are not working, or we didn't achieve what we wanted to. We didn't get to where we wanted to be. Our goals of them were not achieved, and of course we know what we did or what we didn't do to cause that, or to contribute to that. Comes along Nisan, comes along this new holiday or this new season, and tells us, no, there's geula, there's redemption that's available. So if we're looking to get out, if we're looking to jump to the next level, to become, to catch up on whatever it is that we didn't do in the past several months, and to start over and to achieve. So comes along Nisan, comes along Pesach, and says there's a concept of geula, there's a concept of redemption. Redemption doesn't only mean that Jews that were enslaved in Egypt thousands of years ago, that if you're a slave in Egypt, that now's the time to be redeemed. Redemption is a personal thing that every person and every place where they're in life needs a redemption on one level or another. This is the time to cash in on that. This is the time to capitalize on the energy, capitalize on the revelation that exists at this time, in order to experience personal geula, personal redemption from all of the things that are problematic in our life. But the way that this happens is a formula. The formula is given to us right here in the Dalet Parshiyos. First, we have humility. Then we get excited. Push away all of the naysayers. Push all the people that say, oh, you'll never do it, and oh, that seems so hard, and it's not going to work, and so on and so forth. Push them all away. You have the power, you have the ability, you can do it. Take all the Amaleks and destroy them. Just wipe them out. Just push them away. And then they themselves will come and say in the end that you did amazing. They'll be your biggest friends. Then we have para. Para means that when we're done with all of the external complainers or the external naysayers, after we're done listening to all of the people on the outside that are telling us that it's not going to work and so on, or even the voices on the inside of us that say it's not going to work, then we come to the real issues. We come to the real issues that we're lazy and that we lack these talents or those talents. Comes Parshas Para, and it tells us, no, you're a Jew and you have a soul and you can overcome. All you need to do is to infuse within your life living things. Don't get bogged down. Don't focus on the afar, the dust, the ash that's in your life, the stuff that's been burnt out, the stuff that's been destroyed, the stuff that has no use. Don't focus on that. Focus on that only as a way to be frustrated enough to say, I don't want my life to be like this. I don't want my life to be a pile of ash. So you bring enthusiasm, you bring living waters, you bring a living something into your life, which is the waters of Torah, the waters of mitzvahs, to move, to make progress, to utilize the frustration of where you are in life to overcome and to get up on top of it and move over and move on and move upwards. And that is the para. That's the third step towards geula. And then finally, once we've accomplished all those things, we have our humility, and we've pushed away the naysayers, and we've overcome our own personal challenges, and we've been successful in viewing our personal challenges as not things that are tearing us down, but that we can overcome and use as an impetus to become bigger and greater than ever before. Then we can come to Chodesh. Chodesh is a time when we can renew, that we can jump. And not only Chodesh, just like any Chodesh, but the Chodesh of Nisan, the Chidush of Nisan, the novel concept of Nisan, which is to jump and to be redeemed and to allow ourselves to be redeemed. Like it says that when Hashem took us out of Mitzrayim, so it says that the Jewish people were taken out of Mitzrayim. Hashem schlepped us out of Mitzrayim. It says that if we would have stayed there even one moment longer, that we would have succumbed, that we would. Sorry about that. If we would have been there one more minute, we would have not been able to be redeemed. And Hashem took us out and literally pulled us out. And we see that even 4/5 of the Jewish people weren't ready for redemption. They didn't want. But those that were available, those that were interested enough just to be allowed to be schlepped out, they were. But then begins the 49 days of the journey towards Har Sinai, where we ourselves have to take ourselves out of Galus. In other words, Hashem can take us out of Galus, but we have to take the Galus out of us, right? You could take the boy or the girl out of wherever, as the expression goes, but you can't take the place out of them. In other words, if a person wants to be redeemed, if a person wants to get out, the person wants to leave Egypt, metaphorically, then they have to want it. They have to leave the Golus. They have to leave the Golus mentality. They have to stop telling themselves that they can't do it, and they have to stop finding reasons why it's too hard, and they have to stop finding reasons why they're not worthy or not able or not talented enough or whatever excuses that we give ourselves every single day in and day out, and instead to say that no, I can, and not only can I, but I'm being helped. There's a lot of opportunity available for me right here, right now, in this week of HaChodesh, the week that we bless the month of Nisan, the day or the Shabbos that all of the blessings of Nisan, all the Geula, all the redemption, all of the redemptive quality or redemptive energy that comes down into this world for this year, for the month of Nisan and for the holiday of Pesach, this comes now, and we can do it. We can jump into this and be renewed, and do things that we never thought were possible if we only dare to believe in ourselves. And that is, my friends, the four levels or the four steps, the four stages of preparation for the Geula. And from the Shabbos, we move fast and furious towards the actual holiday of Pesach, in which we experience a true and pure and internal, real, relevant Geula, in which we have the opportunity through the 15 steps of the Seder to experience a personal Geula, so that we walk out from the Seder a completely different person that we did when we walked into. That is our class for today. I wish you all a wonderful Shabbos Chodesh and a wonderful Chodesh Nisan and a healthy spring and summer. We hope to see you all at the Seder.